let's move on to our next guest here. Kyle Coleman from Copy.ai. Kyle, you here?
I'm here. What's up, Pete?
Oh, Pep. It's Pep.
Pep, I'm sorry. Oh, you
No
mispronounced copy. I mispronounced your name. Now we're even.
Now we're even, yeah. So your company is not actually anymore a copy company.
No,
right?
not at all.
Is name change imminent?
As soon as I'm struggling from a marketing standpoint and I need to buy myself more time, I'll say rebrand, and then I'll buy time and they won't be able to fire me.
That's right. Do a new website. Always
Yes.
works. Awesome. Well, how was the year for Copy.ai last year?
Really, really amazing. So you mentioned, Pep, we started as kind of this prosumer PLG, like copywriting app for marketers, and it was extremely successful, like 10 million users or something crazy like that. And then to their credit, I wasn't here at the time, but to their credit, the founders at the company realized like, hey, that's kind of becoming commoditized. There's more that we can do here. And so we became, and what we are now is this workflow automation company for go-to-market teams. And it's pretty cool to see the way that people are inventing their own use cases. And well, we're going to talk about some of them here in a moment. But for marketers, for salespeople, for operations, for finance, all across the go-to-market engine, the way that AI can and should be infused into that is pretty game-changing.
A lot of times when companies start out doing this and then over time they expand, the perception, the original perception lingers, How are you guys dealing with changing people's idea of what Copy.ai is?
I'm a very firm believer in the entire concept of category design. And we will be launching or relaunching a category that in about a month, March 13th, mark your calendars, that changes the way that hopefully the market perceives what we do, changes the way we talk about ourselves, position our value prop, deposition the status quo, all those types of things. So we, from a marketing standpoint, people call this branding, some people call it positioning, some people call it just good marketing, some people call it category design. And I think it's a really important thing that we go out and control the definition of who we are and what we do in the market so that everybody else can go along that journey of reinvention with us.
Well, March 13th?
March 13th.
All right. So I'm going to stay tuned, taking notes there. I'm struggling with the same thing. Okay, Kyle, thank you very much for being here. I'll get out of your way and looking forward to your three things.
Awesome. Okay. So, wow, I have the stage for myself now. This is somewhat intimidating. I have my 3 things written down on a little piece of paper here because they are prior to this exercise with Winter. There were things that I was thinking about already, and I recommend everybody do this. This is a really nice forcing function, but these are things that I think about all the time already. So number 1, where are we making a bet in 2024? It's this strategy that I am intentionally provocatively calling a $0 CAC strategy, $0 customer acquisition cost. How can we actually get there? And the way that I think about this is through a flywheel of content creation, demand creation, and demand capture. So I think a lot of modern marketers know, and if you don't know, hopefully you're coming around to the fact that the content is the strategy in many cases. What Pip and I just talked about with category design, so much of that hinges on you having the right thought leadership, having the right POV, having provocative, interesting, meaningful content. And if you have that content, what do you do then? The purpose of content is not just to look and sound pretty, it's to drive pipeline and drive revenue. And ultimately, if you can do that in, again, this $0 CAC sort of way, you're onto something pretty cool, I hope. So what do we do? Every single sales call that we have, every podcast we do, every event we do, we get a transcript from those calls. And from those transcripts, we have Copy.ai that's running workflows in the background that is, let's just use a sales transcript as an example, listening to that sales transcript for when the prospect is like, oh my gosh, or that's amazing, or I didn't know you could do that. Okay, cool. Now the AI hears that the prospect is interested in something. And then the AI writes a blog post about whatever that feature or capability or use case or whatever is on that call that was being discussed at the time. And the differentiation between the copy that, or the content that we create and what you might get from like ChatGPT is that it's based on a real conversation. So it's based on the way that our solutions consultants or our account directors or me on this call are talking about what our capabilities are and talking about the way, or the listening to the way the prospect responds. So it's not just this canned, awful garbage language that you get from ChatGPT. It's real conversation between people that's then informing the content that we create. And the workflow that we have and the running in the background says, write the blog post in this way. Here's the old way. Here are the problems with the old way. Here's the new way. And here's how Copy.ai is the best. So if you go to our blog right now, you're going to see 1 or 2 blog posts every day that we're just publishing based on the content that gets created here. And it's not a thoughtless exercise. The content strategy, our head of content, he's the one that says, here, he does all the SEO research. Here are the keywords we want to rank for. Here are the things we need to do. Here are the gaps that exist. And then he has this content database that's no joke, like 3,000 blog posts. And he can go and search that database and say, we need to publish something on AI enrichment. Here's a blog post that was already written. I'm going to go punch this up a little bit and then publish it. So that's kind of part 1 of the flywheel. Sales transcripts, create content. That content then is published on our blog, on social, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter, everywhere else. And that's, again, all done automatically by AI, which creates demand for whatever the heck it is we're marketing around. People come to our website. And every time you come to our website, we have these demand capture mechanisms to register for an event or start a free trial or request a demo or whatever it is. Those things create more sales transcripts, and the flywheel continues to feed itself, and on it goes. So in a perfect world, this is the $0 CAC strategy that is heavily based on the content that we create from the thought leaders that we have across the company and unlocking them in a fully automated sort of way. Am I going to run out of time? Probably yes. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so that's number 1, $0 CAC strategy. You heard it here first. Aspirational. Number 2, manufacturing word of mouth. I'm stealing this line from my friend and mentor, Christopher Lochhead, who is one of the godfathers of category design. And he says, and it's true, that word of mouth is, was, and always will be the strongest form of marketing. And for whatever reason, most marketing folks don't include word of mouth in their marketing plans. We are not going to fall victim to that trap. Now, how do you manufacture word of mouth? This is something that we're figuring out here in real time. To me, it's not just about, well, you know, this sales influencer, let's use Kevin Dorsey. Kevin Dorsey is super active on LinkedIn. We're going to bribe him to do a post about our product, but he's never actually used our product before, but whatever. Like, we're just going to go pay him $1,000 and like, our work here is done. Like, that ain't it. So there's a distinction between influencers and what Chris Walker from Refined Labs is calling a key opinion leader. And those key opinion leaders, the way that we're working with them and the way that we're working with Kevin Dorsey is actually use our product. So here's a free trial, upgraded license, unlimited use. Spend an hour with a solutions team to build your own use cases. Do you like it? If you do like it, cool. Let's go do some evangelism together. And we can, you know, that's where the word of mouth actually comes from. So it's not just about bribing influencers to go and post about your thing like you're a D2C company. Like, that's kind of lame. There needs to be real skin in the game. There needs to be a real opinion that they have about the value of your platform. And so this is the strategy that we're running, not just with Kevin Dorsey, but with a handful of other pretty well-known people across LinkedIn. And they're going to be really helpful for us as evangelists because they actually believe. And kudos to our solutions team who are spending an inordinate amount of time with these folks to get them onboarded and make them successful, like treat them like a customer effectively. And that's a lot. You know, this is a thing that doesn't scale. And a lot of people will say, oh, you know, it's not worth it. You know, we need our solutions team out there selling or implementing or making customers successful. And my point is, this is a marketing expense. Like, I would rather go and spend, you know, whatever it is, the dollars on professional services that we're foregoing. I would rather spend that money on getting KD up to speed so that he can go and be the evangelist so that we don't have to. People trust him. People believe him if there's real use cases there and if he is really using our product. So that's number 2, is manufacturing word of mouth and being really intentional about that. The key opinion leaders is one element. There is also like small format regional dinners and regional meetups, just getting like-minded people together in a real organic sort of way. Whatever you can do to understand who are your super consumers, where are they, and how can you get them together talking to each other It doesn't have to be, broad based, this LinkedIn post got 1 million views kind of thing. Just get 8 people around a dinner table and create some word of mouth, create some virality, create a real community and see what happens there. Okay, I'm doing terribly on time. I'm sorry. Number 3, experimentation. This is especially important for me at a small company. I mentioned we're creating a new category. We're going to be launching a new category with new language. I have no idea if this language is going to work. It was invented by us. And so we need to experiment around this, like our homepage testing, our ad testing, what we're doing on social, all of these things, all of these strategies, we need to be really, really intentional about. So we do not have a very robust infrastructure for experimentation right now. It's one of the main things I'm trying to focus on from an operations standpoint, as well as a tech and tooling standpoint. It's extremely, extremely important. We can't afford to just go and commit random acts of marketing and just hope that they work. We need to have hypotheses. We need to test those hypotheses, and we need to go and actually be data-driven the way that we're doing everything. So an experimentation mindset is really, really important. There's a book by, I believe is the CEO of Optimizely, wrote a book called Experimentation Works, and it's excellent, excellent. So basically that's our playbook. Play bigger is our playbook for category design. Experimentation Works is our playbook for experimentation. Like, we're not inventing this stuff ourselves, y'all. We're trying to follow or stand on the shoulders of giants. And that's a really important thing, especially when we have a 3-person marketing team, myself included. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Those are my 3 bets: $0 CAC, key opinion leaders, and manufacturing word of mouth, and experimenting on everything.
Right on. Thank you very much. So March 13th, is that a lightning strike?
It is a lightning strike, indeed.
All right. Well, there are multiple questions here from the audience. So one is about listening in on the calls. Like, how many listeners can you have? Like, there's my Gong bot, and then this. Are they all announcing themselves? And
yeah, it's a great question. We use Gong internally, so we sort of sidestep some of that. We don't have our own call recorder yet. Maybe at some point we will, but we use Gong. And it's funny because sometimes you do join a call and there are like 6 different call recorders. There are more call recorders than humans. You're like, what is going on here?
Maybe humans are not needed. Let them talk to each other.
Exactly.
Another question is, so this is about the manufacturing word of mouth. So you said how you're going to do it with your tool. What if the tool is more complex, where implementing features and building what they want is very expensive or not doable? Like, any thoughts how to manufacture word of mouth then?
Yeah, it's what's more expensive, Pip? Like, would you rather go and spend $1 million and get 30 leads from search engine marketing on Bing? Or would you rather go and spend the time, energy, and resources on getting these key opinion leaders up to speed on how to actually use your product? Like, I think it just requires a different mentality from people. And if you are willing to think a little bit differently, and if you're willing to dedicate more time into these new strategies, I can't guarantee it's going to work. Again, this is a new motion for us, but it feels like directionally the right move.
So is it that you're starting with your network, where it's like, hey, buddy, want us to build this feature for you, and then you post about it on LinkedIn? Or
that's basically it. Yeah, and I benefit from the fact that I've been posting on LinkedIn for 4 or 5 years now, and have been in the RevTech, RevOps space for a while, so I have a pretty robust network. We are launching this AI Sales OS suite of capabilities right now, and so the key opinion leaders, like the Kevin Dorseys of the world, are perfect for us because they're personal friends, and because he's an AI nerd, and he's got the network and the credibility. So we're trying to find the kind of intersection of that Venn diagram for not 50 different influencers, but who are the top 5 or 10 that we can go and work with.
Yeah. And is that then like one and done type of thing? He posts, hey, they built this thing and it's pretty cool, or is this like an annual commitment?
Hopefully both. So I can imagine a scenario where, on Lightning Strike Day, we have all these folks posting about us at once. And then hopefully we have an ongoing sort of relationship with him where I'm going to speak for Kevin here. Like, we're kind of paying him in product because he's using the product for real life, for his podcast and for his team and all the rest. And so hopefully he will be a go-to-market advisor for us for a longer time horizon, and we'll figure out the right way to compensate him for his time.
Yeah. Well, that gives me many ideas. Because I mean, with Winter, I'm like, well, do you want us to run a market research study for you, and then you talk about it? Yeah.
The answer is yes. Help us with the experimentation, Pip. Help us. It's my number 3.
All right. I'm gonna slide into your DMs after. Aneska says, hiding your products is so 80s. And that's true. Also, the $0 CAC strategy you were talking about, that's not really different from this, the idea of product-led content, is it?
No,
or
it's not. It's the way the content gets created, I think, is probably the main difference. And it's just a different mindset for demand generation teams. Mm-hmm. And often what I see, Pip, is content marketing, for whatever reason, is siloed from demand generation in a pretty unhelpful way. I'd never really understood it. And I've even fallen victim to it myself. And so this is a way to say the purpose of content is to drive demand, to capture that demand. And here's how everything is supporting itself in a hopefully self-fulfilling flywheel.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're still right on time, so you did not go over time. Thank you, Kyle, for joining us and entertaining us, and also telling us not to launch our campaigns on March 13th. Yes. So we'll clear the LinkedIn for you on that date.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Pip. Everybody else, enjoy the rest of the day. You got some killer speakers here.
And guys, give Kyle a follow. He posts good shit on LinkedIn. We'll see you there.
Cheers.
Peace.